Prince Harry did get into a physical fight with his uncle, Prince Andrew.
For years, Prince Harry had believed that the toughest storms in his life were finally behind him. The custody deal was inked, lawyers had stepped aside, and it seemed as though a delicate sense of calm had finally descended over the family chaos. Yet barely days after the agreement, reports emerged that Harry had levelled shocking accusations against Meghan and Prince Andrew, igniting a firestorm that nobody saw coming. What could possibly have driven Harry to speak out after a deal designed to protect the children? The details are staggering, and they pull back the curtain on a crisis that has shaken the royal world to its foundations. Archie and Lilibet's custody situation reached a critical breaking point on February 3rd, 2026. Buckingham Palace confirmed that the matter had escalated into a full-blown emergency, and insiders say the speed of events left palace officials scrambling. According to official sources, both children were formally removed from Meghan Markle's custodial control after what was described as a serious and alarming breach of responsibility. The dominoes began falling at dawn when a sealed legal document was delivered directly to Windsor Castle. Sources close to the Royal Child Welfare Office report that the contents of the envelope immediately triggered panic alarms. Just days earlier, on January 31st, Meghan allegedly withdrew 7-year-old Archie and 5-year-old Lilibet from their private schools in Santa Barbara without notifying the UK liaison team, the schools, or even the court-appointed mediator responsible for overseeing the children's welfare. California school administrators flagged the withdrawals as urgent, sending shockwaves across both sides of the Atlantic. An internal alert labelled "No Show" triggered immediate concern. Why had neither child returned for the spring term? No transfer paperwork existed. No new school had been designated. There was nothing, according to sources. Every attempt to reach Meghan failed, leaving palace officials in mounting panic. By February 2nd, what started as concern had escalated into a full-blown crisis. Princess Anne reportedly convened an emergency, unscheduled meeting inside Windsor Castle. Witnesses say she entered the room carrying a red folder stamped "Immediate Custodial Breach, Markle Withdrawal." She slammed it firmly on the table before King Charles and delivered a blunt, unflinching message. Years of tolerating public image manipulation had ended. The line had been crossed. This was no longer a question of headlines or reputations. 2 children were left in limbo, and their well-being hung in the balance. The folder contained documents that stunned everyone present. Multiple cancelled paediatric appointments, legal instructions from Meghan's team blocking communication with royal education and child welfare officials, and the shocking dissolution of a £6.3 million education trust fund created for Archie and Lilibet's future schooling in the UK. The most explosive document was dated January 29th, an intelligence memo marked privileged and confidential. According to the Royal Intelligence Advisory Group, Meghan had spent the previous 4 months planning what insiders now describe as a complete maternal disengagement. Allegedly, the memo included a non-disclosure agreement with a Dubai-based media financier requesting the removal of all past family associations ahead of a solo brand launch. Another memo reportedly rejected participation in Prince Harry's proposed joint custody plan and internal Archie contracts, ordering the removal of all references to Archie and Lily from Spotify and Netflix materials. By mid-2026, royal legal advisors reached a chilling conclusion. This was not co-parenting. It was deliberate disengagement. One palace official summarised it bluntly. This was an attempt to erase the children's identity. Princess Anne moved swiftly. She authorised Duchess Sophie of Edinburgh to activate emergency custodial safeguard procedures, opening a formal case and documenting Meghan's alleged disengagement. The file was immediately prepared for submission to both the UK Royal Chancery Court and the California Family Court under shared jurisdiction. Later that same day, the crisis intensified. Prince William abruptly left an economic summit in Manchester and rushed to Windsor. He was handed the same red folder, and witnesses report that after reading the final page, he looked up and spoke quietly, but firmly. This was no longer about Meghan. It was about protecting 2 children. Emotionally, legally, and historically, William and Princess Anne ordered a full emergency briefing for the Royal Advisory Council that very night. Their objective was unprecedented: to remove all forms of Meghan Markle's custodial authority, physical, legal, and symbolic, from these children of the Windsor bloodline. For the first time in modern royal history, the Crown prepared to invoke direct structural guardianship over minors, not as punishment, but as protection. At dawn, on February 3rd, the plan went into action. Prince William, accompanied by Duchess Sophie and Lord Hargrave, entered the royal legal chamber behind closed doors. They presented a Level 1 emergency custodial brief accusing Meghan of deliberate abandonment. The case rested on 4 central claims: total withdrawal from parental educational and medical duties, alleged preparations to relocate to non-Hague nations, coordinated efforts to erase royal identity from the children's public image, and Prince Harry's inability to serve as sole guardian due to instability and lack of resources. At 10:20 a.m., Prince William invoked Appendix 4 of the Royal Succession Stabilisation Act, a clause unused since Edward VIII's abdication. The provision allows the Crown to assume guardianship when royal minors face displacement or identity erasure. The Council's vote was unanimous, sending shockwaves throughout the palace. The consequences were swift and severe. The children's passports were frozen, halting all international travel without dual approval from Princess Anne and the Crown's Child Welfare Council. An image protection order was issued, freezing any commercial use of Archie and Lilibet's names or likenesses for 5 years under the Windsor Privacy Act. Prince William also launched a £12 million Royal Restoration Fund dedicated to their emotional recovery, education, and long-term reintegration. How did the palace respond to Meghan's actions? The Royal Guardianship Protocol, dormant for decades, was activated. This century-old mechanism is designed to protect royal children if their safety, identity, or future role is believed to be at risk. This was not a symbolic action. Princess Anne acted decisively on behalf of the Crown's Child Welfare Committee, calling an emergency meeting at Sandringham. Present were senior palace lawyers, Prince William, and even Sir Alan Campbell of the Privy Council, appearing virtually, a rare occurrence. The focus was clear: the children's mental and emotional well-being, and determining who ultimately held legal authority over their future. Insiders claim Meghan's school withdrawals were not merely parenting decisions, they were part of a meticulously planned media strategy. Behind the scenes, a documentary was allegedly being pitched to a Middle Eastern production company to spotlight Meghan as a solo parent navigating public pressure. Archie and Lilibet were reportedly positioned less as royal children and more as symbols tied to her personal brand. But what Meghan may not have realised was that the palace had been closely monitoring the situation. On January 31st, a sealed, highly sensitive dossier prepared under William's direction and verified by Royal Treasury officials was submitted to the Privy Council. It detailed alleged attempts to profit from the children's names, images, and royal status, including efforts to trademark Archie and Lilibet internationally. Risk assessments from PR firms connected to celebrity gifting networks were included, predicting upcoming branded baby products loosely tied to Princess Diana's legacy. That same evening, Princess Anne issued a firm statement. The House of Windsor would not allow children born into the institution to be commercially exploited, especially when such actions could endanger their safety or constitutional position. The consequences hit immediately. Financial regulators in the UK and Canada froze accounts connected to a holding company allegedly set up by Meghan, using the initials of Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet, along with a mysterious outside investor. Within 24 hours, sponsorship deals tied to a children's storytelling platform she had promoted began collapsing. Even more telling was the online fallout. Mentions of the children started disappearing. Spotify removed archived podcast references, and Netflix deleted promotional images from a project once teased as a heartfelt, royal-inspired series. Meghan's legal team cited ongoing court matters, but royal insiders claim the monarchy invoked international child protection laws tied to digital identity rights. In simple terms, the palace moved to erase unauthorized use of the children's images and names across commercial platforms worldwide. Harry, insiders report, was caught completely off guard. His request for temporary custody authority was denied due to unresolved residency issues in the US, travel limitations, and the absence of stable independent income. It was Prince Edward, known as the quiet yet firm operator of the monarchy, who delivered the final decision. A confidential letter, hand-delivered to Harry by royal courier, left no room for negotiation. Custody, guardianship, and protection of Windsor children now fell solely under Crown protocol. Any future visits would be tightly regulated. The letter, drafted with King Charles's full knowledge, contained no personal remarks, only constitutional certainty. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Catherine, Princess of Wales, quietly stepped into a new role. Now overseeing Lilibet's emotional support plan, she adjusted her schedule to include weekly sessions with a palace-approved therapist specializing in cross-cultural identity challenges. A trusted nanny from Wales was reassigned as Lilibet's primary caregiver. George and Charlotte were gently encouraged to include her in family activities, ensuring a sense of normalcy amidst the storm. In a single moment, the story of the monarchy said more than any official statement ever could. A photograph quietly slipped to the press, showing Lilibet holding Princess Charlotte's hand as they walked out of Windsor Chapel on Candlemas Eve. No caption, no explanation, just a serene image of continuity, a subtle testament to the future moving forward together. As for Meghan, by February 3rd, she was reportedly unreachable. Her team issued a brief, vague statement citing privacy concerns. Yet for those watching closely, her silence spoke volumes. Did the custody ruling favour Meghan? Let's dig deeper. On February 1st, 2026, the courtroom was unusually tense, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. When the judge's ruling came down, it was historic. Meghan Markle was officially stripped of all custodial rights over Archie and Lilibet. Remarkably absent from the hearing, Meghan had stepped back entirely. Her legal team explained that she would no longer participate, but in leaving, she left a silence louder than any defense could have created. Almost immediately, Princess Anne moved with surgical precision. In a rare live address from St James's Palace, she declared that any formal influence Meghan Markle may claim over Windsor children was null and void. The Crown no longer recognised any maternal privileges previously granted. The welfare of Archie and Lilibet must reflect royal standards, not Hollywood ambitions. The ruling triggered a cascade of palace actions. First, the highly publicised $8 million trust Meghan had established, supposedly for the children's international education and independence, was frozen and quietly dismantled. A senior palace accountant later confirmed to The Times that none of the funds had passed through royal channels, leaving them completely unprotected under sovereign asset guidelines. Next, every commercial deal involving Archie and Lilibet's names, from cartoons to luxury brand endorsements, was declared null and void. A palace insider put it bluntly. The children were being treated as commodities. That line cannot be crossed under the Windsor Accords. Then came the most dramatic measure of all. Under a sovereign guardianship directive, last invoked during the abdication crisis of 1936, both children's UK passports were placed in royal security custody. They are now legally barred from leaving the country until the age of 16 unless accompanied by a Crown-approved guardian. Sources confirmed that Prince William personally activated the Edwardian Protocol, a sealed mechanism drafted nearly a century ago by Queen Mary. It grants the heir temporary guardianship over royal minors in times of family instability. This protocol had remained classified until just last week. Meanwhile, Princess Catherine assumed a role no consort has held since the post-war era. She is now personally overseeing Lilibet's emotional and educational well-being at a private royal estate under strict supervision. A royal nanny, speaking anonymously, revealed that Lilibet is doing far better than expected and trusts Catherine completely. But what secret documents did Prince William quietly hand over to the Privy Council? And what decisive action did the Crown take? At exactly 10 a.m., the grand clock inside the Royal Household Child Welfare Committee's chamber chimed, marking a pivotal moment. Princess Anne rose to speak for the second time in less than 48 hours, but this was no standard press briefing. The courtroom was sealed, packed with UK High Court judges, senior child welfare officers, and 2 Privy Councillors summoned under emergency protocol. Every eye was fixed on her. Anne's voice was sharp, measured, and unflinching. "We are no longer speaking in hypotheticals," she declared. "The children, Archie Harrison and Lilibet Diana, have been placed at real emotional risk due to the deliberate disengagement of their mother, Ms. Meghan Markle. Her actions breach the Windsor Accord custodial monitoring protocol." The room fell into stunned silence. Across the Atlantic, Meghan was photographed aboard a luxury yacht in Doha, champagne in hand, laughing beside a Middle Eastern media tycoon. To the world, it was power, indulgence, freedom. To the royal household, it was something darker, abandonment cloaked in designer labels. According to a confidential Windsor briefing submitted by Princess Catherine, Meghan ignored 3 urgent notices about her children's well-being. One warned that Archie had begun silently withdrawing from his schoolwork. Another detailed Lilibet's recurring night terrors. A third described disturbing drawings filled with violent imagery. Not a single acknowledgement, digital or otherwise, had been returned. When Prince William rose to speak, his fury was precise, controlled, but unmistakable. "This is no longer about reputation," he said. "It is about deeper decay. Children born into the Windsor lineage deserve care, protection, and respect, not to be used as props for brand enhancement and then discarded." When inconvenient, he revealed a sealed affidavit from a former Sussex staffer, quoting Meghan herself just before stepping back from parental duties. "Let the Crown raise them. I have an empire to rebuild." That single line hit the committee like an emotional bomb. Privately, Prince Edward reportedly told aides, "I've never seen William this enraged, not even after the Netflix ambush." This wasn't just about Archie and Lilibet. George, Charlotte, and Louis were all part of the equation. Their future mirrored in this crisis. William had drawn a line in California. Meghan's camp remained silent. Her lawyer issued a cold, technical statement dismissing the UK's claims of custodial negligence as non-binding under Californian law, but the palace was already several moves ahead. Princess Anne coordinated with the Foreign Office to activate a rarely used bilateral family protection clause from the post-Brexit Windsor Convention. The clause allowed the Crown to assume guardianship of a royal child abroad if there was clear evidence of danger, even without parental consent. On February 3, 2026, King Charles II, Prince William, and Princess Anne signed the decree in triplicate. Effective immediately, the British Crown assumed primary custodial authority over Archie and Lilibet, legally bypassing Meghan's parental control. The final act of this unprecedented operation was executed in silence. A private jet, chartered by the UK Foreign Office, quietly landed at Santa Barbara Airport. On board were 2 child welfare officers, a royal legal envoy, and a paediatric trauma specialist. Mission code-named Operation Dandelion, their objectives were clear: document conditions, ensure legal compliance, and, if necessary, carefully extract the children. Meanwhile, Meghan's inner circle began to crumble. Tyler Perry, long considered a protector, reportedly demanded answers. "Why didn't you tell me about the palace?" His voicemail, later leaked, was quickly deleted. Oprah Winfrey allegedly distanced herself, furious that her name was linked to the unfolding family drama. Even Meghan's 2026 podcast, intended as a redemption arc, was quietly pulled after focus groups criticised it as insincere, superficially maternal, and emotionally detached. Amid the chaos, the children remained quietly visible. Kensington Palace released a single understated photograph: Prince George and Princess Charlotte sitting with Lilibet in Windsor's Rose Garden. The caption read simply, "Family endures." No dramatics, no fanfare, just a statement. Meghan may have tried to escape the crown, but the crown followed, not with threats or spectacle, but with law, guardianship, and lineage. Meanwhile, Princess Charlotte stepped into her own quiet spotlight. While the world's media blazed with headlines about the public collapse of the Sussex marriage, another story unfolded behind the grand walls of Kensington Palace, one of dignity, tradition, and the careful passing of royal responsibility across generations. On the morning of February 1st, the Palace Communications Office released a remarkable photograph. Princess Charlotte stood beside Princess Anne and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, in the Royal Archives wing at Windsor Castle. Charlotte, poised and calm, held a delicate ivory-handled letter opener rumoured to have belonged to Queen Elizabeth II in her earliest years. Behind them, a youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth gazed outward, her regal intensity silently passing strength to the next generation. Insiders describe the image as a subtle transfer of resolve, a quiet but unmistakable message of continuity. The timing of its release was no coincidence. Meghan had suffered a legal setback. Her bid to claim compensation tied to Princess Diana's legacy was formally denied by a royal advisory committee chaired by none other than Princess Anne herself. The ruling made it crystal clear: no individual may exploit the memory or legacy of Diana, Princess of Wales, for commercial gain without the sovereign's explicit permission. Marriage alone does not grant such rights. The decision struck hard without theatrics in Los Angeles. Meghan was reportedly blindsided. Entertainment outlets suggested she had expected leniency from King Charles. Instead, the king fully supported Anne's ruling, referencing a confidential memorandum Queen Elizabeth had prepared in 2020 ahead of her Platinum Jubilee. That document outlined protections against unauthorized claims on the royal legacy, a silent safeguard that now proved decisive. Back in Windsor, the photograph of Charlotte captured the public imagination, marking the first time she had been officially linked to a historic royal duty. From the very first moment, the image spoke louder than any official statement ever could. Lily Bitt, walking hand in hand with Princess Charlotte, stepped out of Windsor Chapel on Candlemas Eve. No caption, no explanation, just a quiet, striking symbol of continuity, tradition, and a future moving forward together. Even more significant was the company Charlotte kept. Princess Anne, the Queen's most trusted enforcer, and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, the palace's subtle but brilliant strategist, stood beside her. Together, the three formed a symbolic triangle: one who preserved the crown through crisis, one who strengthened it with modern discipline, and one being gently prepared to protect it in the future. A palace source later told The Times, "Princess Charlotte will not grow up watching the monarchy be dismantled by opportunism." That principle, firmly instilled in Queen Elizabeth II's final years, is now being actively upheld by Catherine and William. The emotional centrepiece of the day arrived later when Princess Catherine, still recovering from a recent medical procedure, appeared briefly on a palace balcony with Charlotte during a children's charity award ceremony. Catherine wore a soft navy coat and the late Queen's sapphire brooch, a deliberate nod to continuity and legacy. Catherine placed a gentle hand on Charlotte's shoulder before stepping back. Charlotte then accepted a small floral tribute from one of the children. It lasted barely 15 seconds, but in that fleeting moment, the message was unmistakable. Tradition, continuity, and grace endure. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic in California, Meghan's lawyers filed a revised petition seeking increased allowances for lifestyle protections, citing extreme psychological pressures allegedly tied to what they framed as royal abandonment. But the palace had already moved decisively. The Sussex split was no longer being treated as just a tragic royal story. It had become a matter of resolution that dominated social media, morning TV shows, and British tabloids. The contrast could not have been sharper. Meghan carefully negotiating her image, while the royal family acted with permanence and authority. On February 2nd, Sir Alan Campbell, Lord President of the Privy Council, issued a brief but decisive clarification. All current royal trust arrangements, including educational protections for Archie and Lily Bitt, would now be managed under a guardian restructure clause. Princess Catherine, Princess Anne, and Prince Edward were formally named trustees. Responsibility for the Sussex children had officially moved away from Harry and Meghan. As one Telegraph observer remarked, "The Crown is not punishing Harry and Meghan. It is simply correcting its course across the Atlantic." Harry reportedly declined a planned appearance at a veteran symposium in Arizona, citing lingering legal stress. Meghan, by contrast, was spotted filming content for a rumoured solo lifestyle series titled Reclaiming Grace, a move immediately mocked in the British media as a desperate bid to polish her image. On February 1st, 2026, amid a week of escalating fallout, Princess Catherine and her daughter, Princess Charlotte, made an unannounced appearance at a street-level David's Trust charity event. They arrived without pomp but were impossible to ignore. The symbolism was clear. While Meghan faced scrutiny over her use of luxury branding tied to royal imagery and Harry remained unreachable in Oregon, Catherine appeared calm, radiant and resolute in a crimson wool coat, echoing Queen Elizabeth II's quiet strength in times of crisis. But it was Charlotte who stole the moment. Holding a small, hand-stitched journal embroidered with the word hope, she stepped forward during the press line and, with surprising confidence, declared, "We are not currency. We are not stories for sale." Her words stunned everyone. No royal child in living memory had spoken so clearly in public. Palace aides visibly shook. Minutes later, it was confirmed that Catherine had approved Charlotte's statement. This quiet but powerful act sent a crystal-clear message. Weaponization of Archie and Lilibet for personal gain would not be tolerated. Hours later, a senior royal source revealed that Catherine had drafted a private memorandum, now circulating among constitutional advisors and child welfare committees, known as the Safeguarding Doctrine. The doctrine established firm protections for royal children, referencing Queen Elizabeth II's custodial precedents and adding modern safeguards against AI, cloning, unauthorized monetization of images, and psychological exploitation, issues highlighted in leaked documents from Meghan's upcoming lifestyle media pitch. Meanwhile, Meghan's team in California scrambled to control the narrative. A tone-deaf Instagram story surfaced, claiming Meghan had always supported children's voices. Featuring a photo of Archie baking cookies, the palace quickly countered with a chilling statement: "Empowerment is not manipulation. Protection is not obstruction. Silence is not absence." Timing could not have been worse for Meghan. Reports emerged that she had attempted to enroll Archie in a talent agency for a branded children's cooking segment backed by a Qatari luxury sponsor, internally named Sussex Kitchen. Concerns had already been raised with the UK's Broadcast Ethics Council. With the royal household restructuring underway, Prince Edward now had the authority to review overseas uses of royal children's images. Consequences extended far beyond reputation. Leaked Sussex Foundation documents under audit in both the UK and US revealed a family marketing plan approved by Meghan in January, detailing Lilibet's potential school appearances, wardrobe sponsors, and social media rollout dates. Princess Anne, blunt as ever, told reporters at the National Trust Archives, "There is no brand rollout for children. There is no press calendar for dignity. I will not allow it." Hours later, the Palace Child Welfare Committee voted on emergency measures led by Anne, William and Sophie. They granted Prince William temporary joint oversight of Archie and Lilibet's privacy until a California court could resolve custody. The monarchy invoked non-consensual image clause rights under the 2023 Royal Privacy Act, preventing Meghan from using her children in promotional or monetized content. What do you think about Prince Harry's shocking accusations and Meghan's attempts to control the narrative? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more updates on this royal saga, because the story is far from over.